And welcome to John's Eclectic Photo Time Storytime Adventure, Episode 30, Fireworks 2025. The summer evening air carried with it the faint shimmer of heat still radiating from the asphalt when John and Miya pulled their SUV into the wide, empty lot of the local park. They were early, 2 full hours before the scheduled fireworks show. But that was just the way John liked it. With his Canon R5 Mark II and the Canon R6 Mark II carefully packed alongside two tripods, lenses and accessories, there was no room for rushing. He wanted everything in place before the crowd arrived, before the chaos of headlights and the car doors and children running wild filled the space. "Looks like we beat everyone," John said with a small laugh as he shifted into park. The lot stretched out before them like a blank canvas, a perfect stage waiting for its performers. Miya, ever the balance to his technical focus, smiled and unbuckled. "All the better. Gives us time to relax." She reached into the back and tugged free the folding chairs and the small table, then retrieved a wicker picnic basket tucked neatly behind them. John watched her for a moment, admiring the easy way she always brought warmth into his structured plans. Where he saw aperture, shutter speed, and ISO values, she saw the joy of simply being there together. John wasted no time finding his spot. He walked the lines of the parking lot, peering toward the tree line where the fireworks would erupt, noting angles and sight lines, until at last he planted both tripods with a satisfied nod. The R6 came first, fitted with the 10 to 20 millimeter ultra-wide lens. Its job was simple but crucial: to capture the whole sky in one sweeping cinematic view. Then came the R5, his workhorse, armed with the 15 to 35 millimeter wide-angle lens. He dialed in his settings: f11 for crisp detail, ISO 100 for the cleanest blacks, and an 8-second exposure to paint each burst of light across the frame. The interval timer was set at 10 seconds, would give him a steady rhythm without leaving too much gap. By the time he finished, a thin sheen of sweat clung to his forehead. He wiped it away with the back of his hand and returned to their makeshift little camp. Miya had already laid out a light dinner: sandwiches, fruit, and a small spread of snacks, neatly arranged on the folding table. She handed him a cold drink as he sat down, and together they enjoyed their meal while the sun slowly melted into the horizon. An hour later, the lot was alive. Families had streamed in, minivans unpacked, and the voices of children filled the air. Laughter, squeals, the sound of feet racing across the pavement in impromptu games of tag. The hum of anticipation spread like a current, growing as the last traces of daylight surrendered to night. Then it came. A single shell fired skyward, leaving behind a streak of light before bursting with a thunderous boom. The crowd erupted in cheers. John was on his feet instantly. The R6 was already recording, wide lens ready to drink in the full spectacle. He moved to the R5, checking focus against the glowing trails of the fireworks. Each burst painted the sky in brilliant reds, greens, and golds. He adjusted exposure times, framing, tiny refinements here and there, moving back and forth between the cameras as if orchestrating his own private performance alongside the one exploding overhead. For 30 minutes, the night bloomed with color. Long tendrils of light unfurled across John's viewfinder. He knew he had the shots, the layered burst, the trails, the moment of perfect symmetry when the sky seemed to hold its breath in brilliance. By the finale, when the sky was saturated with overlapping explosions and the crowd roared with applause, John finally allowed himself to relax. He glanced at Miya, who had been watching the show as much as she had been watching him, her eyes sparkling in the reflected light. She gave him a little wave of encouragement, and he felt that familiar tug of gratitude. How she always supported his passion, never mind the technical fuss or long set-up hours. The next day was spent in his elements, refining. John culled through hundreds of frames, narrowing down to 40 of the most striking captures. He layered, balanced, and coaxed each image into its best form, then edited the video footage from the R6, weaving stills and motion together into a seamless story of light. That evening, in the quiet of their home, the culmination of his work came to life. The large family room television glowed as the video began to play. Miya entered from the kitchen carrying a bowl of popcorn, setting it on the coffee table as she curled beside him on the soft sofa. Together they watched, the room flickering with red, blue, and gold as the display replayed before them. In the comfort of their home, no bugs, no sweat, no bustling crowd, John and Miya relived the night as though it were happening all over again. The explosions, the shimmering trails, the grand finale, all captured through his lens and now shared together. Miya leaned against him, warm and content. "You know," she said softly, "it's even better this way, like having our own private fireworks show." John smiled, resting his hand gently on hers. That's the idea. And for the rest of the evening, they sat together in the glow, savoring the memory, not just of fireworks, but of a night built on patience, laughter, and the quiet joy of creating something beautiful together. And we hope you enjoyed this episode of Fireworks 2025, part of John's Eclectic Photo Time Adventure, episode 30. And thank you again for watching. If you enjoyed this episode and the others in John's Eclectic Storytime Adventure series, please consider subscribing and hit that like button. Thank you.